The late 19th and early 20th century was a period in which the scientific study of humankind was very different than it is today. Subjects like anthropology were overwhelmingly focused on seeking out physical differences between crudely defined racial groups. These differences were sought through the measurement of skulls, but also through anatomical study of just about every other part of the body as well. Fingerprints were one part of the body that was studied for this purpose, and anthropological studies of the fingerprint patterning of different racially defined groups became one of the most prolific areas of dermatoglyphics research. Before examining how fingerprints were used to construct race in science, it is important to step back for a few moments to consider why 19th and early 20th century scientific studies of race were so problematic. Viewed through the lens of the racist ideas and stereotypes that were held at the time, scientific researchers believed that studying anatomical differences could help them to understand the different levels of evolutionary development that different groups had supposedly attained. Some of the basic assumptions that informed this work included the idea that humankind could be divided up into genetically and biologically pure races, and that these could be arranged hierarchically, with some being viewed as more advanced and others being viewed as less advanced. Over subsequent decades, these ideas would be rightly criticized as racist, and moreover, would be largely abandoned in the sciences. For example, as this quote from anthropologist and public intellectual Ashley Montagu suggests, the idea that one could construct a rigid typology of racially defined groups based on physical and biological differences came to be viewed as deeply problematic, much like the idea that race is determined by a natural or biological essence, instead of being something that is constructed and given meaning within society. Nevertheless, seeking out physical differences between racially defined groups was a very common focus of research in early 20th century physical anthropology. Initially, those who did work in dermatoglyphics were influenced by this approach as well. Now, it became clear very quickly to the researchers who pursued this work that all groups, indeed all humans, share the same basic kinds of fingerprints, arches, loops, whorls, and so on. And they increasingly came to focus on the different frequencies with which these patterns appeared in different populations. Some groups were observed to have more loops, for example, while others had more whorls. As you can see here, it was possible to create charts showing the range of variation, in this case, the ratio of arches to whorls, and then to plot the location of different groups on this spectrum. Over time, statistical tools were developed that could present this information in very concise ways. For example, in the 1920s, a Japanese researcher named Furuhata Tanemoto created something called the Furuhata Index, which was obtained by dividing the percentage of whorls in a given population by the percentage of loops. This made it possible for researchers to easily compare how frequently these different patterns appeared in different populations. While much of this work seems outdated today, it was an area of science that attracted a substantial following in the United States and internationally earlier in the 20th century. Published in journal articles, textbooks, and research monographs, this work became part of the foundation of scientific knowledge on which fingerprinting was based. This research arose, of course, from within a very dark chapter in the history of modern science, one that gave rise to scientific racism. Ultimately, it demonstrates the influence that socially constructed ideas about identity and difference have had in the modern sciences, a point that is worth keeping in mind today.